Okay, 328. If you're able to stand and sing. 328. We'll go through 2 times. 328. Jesus saves today. He has won a new song. It will in my heart. Since the Savior saved me and gave me a brand new heart, I will sing His praises all along the way. This will be my new song that Jesus saves today. This will be my new song that Jesus saves today. He doth put a new song deep within my heart. Since the Savior saved me and gave me a brand new start, I will sing His praises all along the way. This will be my new song that Jesus saved. This will be my new song that Jesus saves today. Amen. You may be seated. All right.
We are on the page 3 of 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. Remember, this is Bible survey. By the way, I had gotten a call from a YouTube operator, and she was the co-host of the fella that brought Bill Clinton down.
Larry Nichols.
How did you know that? I didn't know that.
You just said the guy who brought Clinton
But you
down.
knew that.
He used to work for Clinton.
Well, she's the co-host of his YouTube. Larry Nichols is dead,
Right.
and she has taken that whole thing over. And she said the only reason he did not get impeached is one vote was changed by means of a
Pressure.
let's go another step with that pressure.
Blackmail.
Bribe.
Good grief.
Well, now you understand the deep
If
state.
you don't take the money, you're gonna take the bullet.
That's why, now do you understand the deep state? Now, I don't know when I brought this up, that we saw a movie, I've seen the movie before, but there's things, when you see an old movie over and over again, you miss things.
Yeah.
Well, the prostitute she said, now wait, why did you arrest me? She's at the police station. She's this and that. It's black and white. It's an old movie, and it's in London. We'll say it's in London, and this boy is a runaway boy. He runs away from the embassy, and he's the son of the French
Oh, I know.
ambassador. You
The
know.
Fallen Idol movie. The Fallen
Yeah,
Idol.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, he says, now it's not a 1932 film, but it's not a 1980 film. It's probably a 1950 or 48 film.
Yeah, I've seen it many times.
But she says to the boy, I never heard this, but I've seen the movie, that the police want her to comfort the little boy. He's crying, he's comforting, and he won't even give his name. He gives her his name. He says, well, I'm so-and-so. And she says, oh, I know your father.
Yeah.
Well, I never caught that before.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? It means the deep state's been around forever.
Yeah.
It's been around forever. So it just, and I'm sure they inserted that as a joke.
She contacted you?
She contacted me. Now,
You do your secrets out. I didn't tell her nothing.
this out. She contacted me. This is,
She went to BethesdaKJV.com because it's on the videos. You can't hide it.
she, now, it's online, it's what we're doing right now.
Yeah,
It's our Bible survey, so she wants to incorporate in the YouTube program she's been asked to do a 10-minute to a 20-minute Bible study. She wants to use our Bible survey. She
Wow.
liked what she saw.
wow.
So she called, oh, listen, I told her, I said, listen, I don't know if you're using it or not. I said, I've never been on there. I've never even seen the webpage. Because I'm uninterested in that, but others are.
We'll have to change your mind about it.
So, anyway,
We're gonna have to read
I
it.
gave her permission. These Bible surveys are gonna be online. I mean, she's gonna use it on her YouTube. I can't think of her name right now. We wrote it down
I'm a subscriber, right?
because the wife wanted to watch it, and there are, the idea was, well, let's look at it first. I decided, well, let's not even look at it. Just give her permission. Let her get the word of God out there.
Yeah.
And, but she found us, and it's Larry Nichols. It's Larry Nichols'
Official.
official,
I can tell you that.
official, it's Larry Nichols, there's 4 words, Larry Nichols official something. Anyway, if you want to view that, her YouTube, I don't know what it is, I don't know if it's a movie where they actually show her. But they're going, it's probably more politically motivated. But she's incorporating our Bible study in there. Now, it doesn't matter to me if she gives us credit or not, I could care less. Anyway, we're on page 3 at the top. These are just statements of fact. David, the regime there, the kingdom, was a family affair with the 3 brothers, the sons of, I can't think of his sister's name, the sons of David's sister. They're cousins. They're cousins of David. And we said last week that he was unable to control them. He couldn't control them. That's Joab and his 2 brothers. But it's a family affair. We had said the reason he makes it a family affair is those that are involved in the kingdom that would tend to be more loyal to David. There wouldn't be then a revolt. If he makes the aunts, the uncles, the cousins, all positions throughout the kingdom in ruling, then tends to stay loyal. Isn't that what a president does? They fire everybody and then they put those that are loyal to him in power. All regimes do that. So it follows true. So he kills his cousin, Joab. The topic is Joab. He kills his cousin Amasa in 2 Samuel 17:25. We were there last week. And Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab. So this family affair is going on. When Absalom takes over, David runs away, leaves town, and so on. Amasa is a cousin. So these are all family members. It's like Luke makes Benji in charge. I mean, these are first cousins. These are cousins. 2 Samuel 20, verses 9 through 13. 20, verses 9 through 13. Joab said to Amasa, "Art thou in health, my brother?" I mean, he was sly as slip. And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand, kissed him, but Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. I mean, just ruthless. So he smote him therewith in the 5th rib. You know, a lot of these murders, you know, they say there's no sign of forced entry. It doesn't appear as though, you know, when you watch these murder mysteries, there's no sign of forced entry. There doesn't seem to have been a struggle. Well, what does that indicate? The person who did the crime. That they knew each other, and they probably knew each other really well. All right? We just recently saw one of these things, the dumb cops. Sometimes the cops are dumb or crooked. In this particular case that we saw, the district attorney, they're not interested in the truth. And they withheld what's called exculpatory evidence. Exculpatory evidence. So I looked up the word exculpatory. It's evidence that is basically full proof that gives proof to either a person's guilty or innocent. And somebody withholds that because it goes against their case. So the prosecutor, this is the district attorney and the prosecutor, they withheld exculpatory evidence. And by it's exculpatory. It's in the dictionary. I looked it up. It's like foolproof evidence. They withhold that because they're not interested in the truth. And they said this on the program. They're not interested in the truth. They're interested in what?
They want to get somebody convicted.
They want a conviction. They want to win. The point is winning, not the truth. Winning.
Because it justifies their existence and they have a job. They're doing something.
And just because there are the police doesn't make them pure in doing it right. The police these are the underlings. We're talking about those that are in charge. Now, they showed a picture of this guy, and he is still some kind of a district attorney, I think, in the state now. And, pardon? He's some kind of a prosecutor or so with the state, and he's pretty high up. The thought was, when this goes further, they may go after him. Because it sent a guy to jail for 13 years. Innocent. And they proved beyond a shadow of a doubt the guy was innocent.
In North Carolina or Virginia, I can't remember where Duke's at, but the Duke lacrosse team.
Oh yeah, that lacrosse thing.
That district attorney and prosecutor, I don't know if they actually went after him, but they needed to. It was really, really bad what they did to those boys.
I know. They smeared them and ruined
They're
their...
trying to make a race issue out of it and be heroes. And
Yeah, what happened to those that were doing the prosecuting?
But the thing was, is the prosecutor, they picked the wrong guy to fight because all those are rich boys. And the mom and dad were like, okay, let's go. And they just got the attorneys and...
They got the right attorney?
Let's do it. And if those were poor boys, they all went to jail.
It's kind of like when they did the work in my house, and I went down to the county engineer. I got to talk with the head man. And he said, "You seem like the type of guy to not quit." I said, "They thought they were picking on some old feeble-minded guy." I said, "They picked on the wrong guy today." And I went after them and we won. And I didn't need an attorney. And they brought their attorney. And they shut the attorney down. And we won. And they had to come out and redo everything at their expense. Anyway, getting back to the fraud is, if I remember right, whenever the fraud was going to court, because all these people are paid off, we're talking about the election fraud, is they withheld or will not hear, and I'm pretty sure the word exculpatory evidence. In other words, the literal film of them pushing the Republicans out from viewing the counting. That would be exculpatory evidence. Can't use that. We won't see it. None of these judges are looking at what's called exculpatory evidence to prove without a shadow of a doubt that it was total fraud. And I hear that there's been a lot of successes lately. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know. But I think there's a bunch of people that aren't letting it go. And there's stuff going, oh, by the way, what's the name of that guy? We saw it last night or the night before. It's this
Health Ranger?
it's the conference in Tulsa, Health and Freedom Conference, and they had the guy that was on with the woman that was trying to prove that the tax voter fraud with the machines. Lynn Wood, and he said something really weird. He was on stage and he said at the conference, it's all Republicans and all conservatives. This 2 days ago, he said, there's 100,000 missing children every year.
Yeah.
Well, if you're in our family, who does that line up with if she doesn't come to church? It lines up with what they're doing with the kids with missing.
Children and Family Services.
Where are these children? He said, well, you know what? When you have the milk can and you see the picture and you actually do the investigating, a lot of times they're not runaway.
The other parent took them.
The other parent hired a private detective and they go and snatch that kid, take him out of state. Now it's out of state, now you got a problem. That the parent can't get him back. And a lot of that is runaways and they're stolen by a detective that was hired by the divorcee.
Well, normally, those divorce decrees, you can't take the child out of state.
And you're in trouble.
Yeah, so.
Well, anyway, I've seen a special on it that a lot of this it's parents fighting over children. That's parents fighting over children. Anyway, he brought that up. It just seemed weird that he had brought that up. Anyway, this is a family affair. Joab takes his cousin, stabs him under the fifth rib, does him in. He's wallowing in his blood. The whole army stops. We don't have to relook up these verses. And they have to haul him out of the way to get them to the army to march forward. Absalom, 2 Samuel 18, when they do him in. He's done it with 3 darts. And I tell you, I have people that just balk at this. That spiritually speaking, what parts does Pharaoh play in the Bible? Other than Pharaoh. Literally, as Pharaoh.
Antichrist.
Pardon?
Antichrist.
He can play the Antichrist. He can play the devil. And he can play the other role. He plays God.
Well, Hollywood, they play all the roles.
They play all the roles. But he plays the part, Pharaoh plays the part of God. He plays the part of the devil. Well, Absalom does the same thing. Joab gets the 3 darts, does them in. He's hanging in a tree. We say he's suspended between heaven and earth as being hung on a cross. So Absalom plays the devil. Absalom plays Christ. And it's just is so obvious. And these things are throughout the Bible. And I forget what they call that. There's an analogy to that, looking for these typology. It's in my, I have a book on it, and it's only 1 chapter in the book. And it's usually the typology they give in there is very, it's the obvious typology that no one can miss. And man, but when I read these books from hundreds of years ago, they have deep insight in a lot of this. That one on Absalom, I have never read it, but in 1 book about him playing a type of Christ there. And after you've seen it or have had it explained, isn't it obvious? It becomes so, like, why didn't I see that? But you'll find that. All right, how the book divides out. Chapters 1 through 10 is David's triumphs. Then what happens in chapter 11? Without going there, if you have David's troubles, what happens to David there? It's the what story is that? Nobody knows? When did his troubles begin?
After Bathsheba.
Bathsheba. So chapter 11 is the story of Bathsheba. By the way, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, they retell all these stories, but what they don't retell in Chronicles, since they're in captivity, when that is being retold and rewritten, if you're really down, if a person is really down, you don't cheer them up by, let's say let's give an example. You got in a car wreck. The car is just totaled.
That wasn't the car wreck.
And I come and visit you, and you need cheering up. But I say, you're a lousy driver. That doesn't cheer anybody up. And so you can be real negative. So what happens in 1st and 2nd Chronicles, they retell the stories, but some stories they don't retell because it would get the people down. They're already in captivity, and they'll be real discouraged. So like the story of David and Bathsheba does not occur. They don't retell the bad stories. They only retell mainly the good stories. And that's really important when you're trying to encourage somebody. The best thing to say, what's the best thing to say when you're trying to encourage somebody when they're spilling their guts? The best thing to do is say nothing. It's kind of like Richard's got a bad knee. Right now, he's got a bad knee. One of the worst things, and a thing that people should learn, the worst thing for me to say to him, well, Richard, I hurt my knee one time too. Like, who cares? But people do that. They say, I really hurt my knee about 10 years, and it took years to fix, but it got fixed. The best thing to do is just listen. Just listen. And I've had people then say to me, oh, you've been such a great help to me. I'm just so glad that you came over and talked to me. And I leave, and in the end, what did I say? I said nothing. I get home and I said, they were really happy, they were really all built up, and they were just so glad I talked to them. But in the end, I said hello and goodbye. That was it. Just hello and goodbye. So if you want to encourage somebody, learn that. The younger you learn that and practice that, the better off you'll be. Keep your mouth shut. Just don't say anything, and just be a good listener. Be a good listener. Now, I'm not listening right now because it's my turn to talk.
Yeah, my knee started hurt after hearing his story.
Yeah. So,
And I did heard it a long time ago.
I was preaching up there one time. We didn't have the building yet. And this woman brought her little kid. And he is just flapping his mouth. He must have been, he learned to talk. He must have been 3 or 4 years old. He was just going like crazy and wouldn't stop. Would not stop blabbing. And she kept saying, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. And he pointed at me. He said, why? He's talking. It was really funny. He's talking. Well, anyway, the triumphs and the troubles, that's how you separate that. All right, David's transgression. He let his guard down. He got lazy. The minute you let your guard down and say, well, I'll just take a little bite of the apple, boom, man, it happened. He let his guard down. He got lazy. He looks at the girl across the way. And I would say, it says verse 1, verse 2. That's got to be in chapter 11, at David's downfall. He makes a decision. By the way, life is choices and decisions. You can make the right decisions, you can make the wrong decisions. You want your right decisions to outweigh your bad decisions. The older you get, you want to get the bad decisions spaced out, way out. Decisions. And then the problem is, he made a decision and he put it to practice. He made a choice and then he went and acted. The moment he acted, he reaped the fruit of that. Reaped the fruit of it. And then, after he gets caught, he has his cover. He tries to cover his tracks. I have the sin of Achan on my side notes here. What were the 4 things that Achan did.
He-
It's two words. It begins with I.
I saw,
I saw,
I coveted,
I coveted, now, I saw it, so now I want it. I coveted.
I took it,
I took,
and I hid it.
you got it. You see how you made that? That's a good outline, and that's a good sermon, right there. I saw, I coveted, I took, I hid. Now, you could go and preface that with but it'd be three words. I was warned. I was told. He was told not to do that.
And I ignored it.
And he ignored it. But I saw, I coveted, I took, I hid. And in the end, he was killed. He was killed.
and his family, right? Wasn't his family killed too?
They were, but now I'm not positive about the children.
Not the children.
I know when it was the sin of Korah, the children, it specifically says in another part that children did not suffer. They were not killed. It was only the adults. All right, the cover-up plan. In the plan is you got to get others to sin with you. What's the problem in politics when you finally get others to sin with you? What does the other one finally do? They have to tell somebody else, the cat that gets out of the bag. If you're thrown in jail and you cover up your tracks, what do they put in the cell with you? A stool pigeon. Or they put in, what do they call it? A what? A snitch, a rat or a snitch, they'll put that in the cell. An undercover cop. Now listen, you know the one that did that shooting, she pulled out the gun instead of the taser.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that too bad? Here's what she needed to do. She, first of all, should never went and got that job. She should have just stayed home and baked cookies. She probably wishes she had did that. Do the police need women cops?
Yes.
If you're going to do a shakedown, or if you're going to try to catch what they call a John, you have to have women cops. But her role shouldn't be a traffic cop.
Yeah.
It should be a man. Should she have been a cop? I'm not saying she shouldn't have been a cop, but not in that position. But today, man, all common sense is gone. She could be a cop, but she'd be a woman cop at a federal prison, a secretary helping, or a dispatch, as an undercover cop, because you have to pose to catch these people. And if it takes a woman to do it, you have to have a woman. But to be in that position, I don't know. It is what it is. And now I'm sure she's just regretting it. So you get others to sin with you. You get others involved. And it just multiplies your sin. It ends up affecting the whole family. And the whole family got infected with this once that it happened. It spreads. Father like son. So when anything ever happens that's bad, I say, well, I inherited that from one of my kids. I inherited that from one of my kids. It's their fault. Father, bless now our preaching. In Christ's name, amen. We'll finish this up next week.